So really what this is about is figuring out what your weight loss blockers are.
What this phase will do is restart your body's fat burning systems.
We use reverse dieting to build everything back up again.
If you follow an approach which raises your stress levels too much, that's going to stop you seeing results.
With just a few simple changes, our clients are able to see phenomenal results.
The biggest key here is...
Hello and welcome to the Trinity Fit Over 40 podcast with me, Rob Burkhead.
And me, Ben Hughes. We are the co-founders of Trinity Transformation and creators of the Fit Over 40 method. And together with our world-class coaching team, we've helped more than 7,000 women over 40 to fit back into their favorite clothes over the past decade. For more information about what we do, head to www.fit40info.com. So a lot of people assume it's impossible to make a real difference to their weight and their fitness during menopause, and they think they'll have to wait until later in the year in order to see results. But what if you could lose 15 to 30 pounds and feel incredible by spring?
So there's 3 key steps to focus on when it comes to seeing good results around menopause. And we call this our FIT framework, FIT. And the first one stands for focus. So really what this is about is figuring out what your weight loss blockers are. So why nothing is working at the moment and what to do about it. And the key thing here is everyone is different and their blockers are different. So our typical clients spent the last 20 to 30 years climbing to the top of their career. So stress is often a big blocker. They've also ended up often caring for aging parents on top of raising children. And even if their children are grown up, there's a lot of family stress associated with that. There's a lot of pressure and there's very little time. So lack of time is another really common blocker. And a lot of people then don't know what to do because they don't think they can fit in what they used to. And they don't think they've got enough time to see results. On top of all of that, a lot of the women we work with are dealing with hormonal changes, whether it's perimenopause in their early or mid 40s or even late 40s, whether it's transitioning into postmenopause, which typically will happen in your 50s, or you're well into postmenopause, maybe even in your 60s. There's slightly different hormonal things going on at each of those stages. And it's making sure you're doing the right thing that's appropriate for the stage you're at, whether that's investigating things like HRT or a different form of HRT, whether that's looking at changing your type of exercise, changing what you're doing nutrition-wise. All of that has to be tailored to your hormonal situation. And then on top of all of that, a lot of the people we work with are dealing with different injuries and niggles. They have hip aches or pains. They might even be having a hip replacement. We've got 1 or 2 clients going through that at the moment. They have a bad back and they need to make sure they're working around that and strengthening that up so that goes away. They might have frozen shoulder. They might have tennis elbow. They might have stiff ankles. They might have arthritis. And so if you can see all these things I've already just talked about, everyone's going to have like a different makeup of bits and pieces of each of these things. Maybe more. Some people will have most of those things. Some people will have less of those things. And it's a very complicated situation. So there is not a one-size-fits-all approach solution to this. Is to understand what's right for the specific person, and what's right for you if you're listening will be different to what's right for the next person. On top of that, so those are kind of like the physiological and environmental blockers. A lot of people have habits that are blocking them seeing results as well. So as a knock-on effect of maybe the stress, they might be turning to alcohol. They might be sleeping badly, and that might be due to the menopausal changes they're going through, and then their hunger hormones are elevated. They might also be experiencing extreme stress from work and comfort eating because of the stress. Their nutrition might also be no good. They might not be confident with how to eat to fuel their body correctly. They might be doing fad diets, might be doing fasting, things like that are actually backfiring and making things worse around menopause. So it's unpicking all of this and figuring out this simplest, most time efficient, most energy efficient solution to that. And that's what we do with all of our clients. And with just a few simple changes, our clients are able to see phenomenal results. And it's why I can't give you a one size fits all answer today. And it's about understanding and have a think. You probably know if you're listening to this, there's a couple of things I mentioned and they're clear blockers for you. It might be that alcohol. It might be not knowing what to do with your nutrition. It might be severe menopause symptoms. It might be an injury. But what I want to do is share with you today a specific example, and we'll go through a few different examples of a client who had a lot of blockers and how we overcame them. So this is from Jess Martin. She's a business owner and she's 49, and she was one of our Transformation of the Year winners last year, so 2024. And this is a direct quote from her. When she joined, she said, "I was a lethargic 12 stone, 30 pounds and approaching my 50th birthday. I was terrified if I didn't do something now, I never would. I had a series of poor health markers: poor liver function, lupus, high cholesterol, poor sleep, and to top it off, menopause symptoms had just kicked in, leaving me with an hour of sleep a night, up to 7 hot flashes an hour, high anxiety and rage. I'd been through 4 years of invasive investigations for my liver, including countless blood tests, an ultrasound, and a painful biopsy, and no one could tell me what was wrong. I was arguing a lot with my partner in front of the kids. My diet was truly dreadful, and I was blaming everyone else for it. I was also very sedentary. I rarely exercised, and the kids reminded me when we went for family walks I was out of breath and moaning within the first 20 minutes. All in all, I was making family life miserable. I knew I wanted to lose weight, but I didn't know how to do it, having yo-yo dieted via conventional programs for 30 years. So as you can see there, Jess was in a fairly miserable situation. She had a lot of health problems, and she was wondering if it was going to be too late if she left it any longer. It was affecting every aspect of her life. So Jess took the plunge and started, and we worked out what to focus on. But she said, I couldn't have picked a worse time to start with Trinity. My father-in-law was in and out of hospital dying. I also have my own aging parents with a multitude of health problems. My one staff member was diagnosed with terminal cancer, forcing her to retire immediately and leaving me with all her clients. The above turmoil coincided with my son's GCSEs too. So the first thing we had to do there is to work out something very time efficient, because she had all this care to do for her father-in-law and her own parents. Her son was doing his GCSEs and her staff member left. So we had to make things very, very quick and easy for Jess. On top of that, Jess said, the menopause journey has also been challenging. Starting HRT the month after starting Trinity and developing painful breast cysts, which required surgery. Stress is a huge factor in my life, and I'd only ever handled it via comfort eating. So those are two other things we had to work around with. Because she was having such severe menopause symptoms, we had to make sure everything was menopause appropriate in terms of her exercise, in terms of her nutrition. And we also had to look at that stress, which she said was a huge factor in her life, that she usually turned for comfort eating. And that takes a little bit of unpicking, understanding where that comes from, what the mindsets are and the patterns that lead to that, and making sure we can kind of stop that in its tracks. So comfort eating is now a thing of the past for Jess. And here's what she said. So she said, but now everything has changed for the better. Yes, I've dropped 2.5 stone and 2 dress sizes and can fit back into my size 12 to 14 clothes, but that's only part of it. My confidence has skyrocketed. I was avoiding everything. Now I'm doing everything. My mindset around food and nutrition has completely changed. I now take responsibility for my food, having learned to cook from scratch, having not really cooked in the past, and I'm enjoying it. I'm putting my own needs first before others, and the ripple effect out to my friends and family has been mind-blowing and truly humbling. I walk every weekend, and sometimes the family can't keep up. They say I'm happier, less argumentative, and nicer to be around. I sleep better, and my relationship with my partner is vastly improved in every way. Plus, my liver function is back to normal. I stand in the front row of choir and I'm happy to be seen, whereas before I was embarrassed with my size and felt awkward. I even performed at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. This year I travelled like never before, plus I did the Trinity retreat in Crete and kept up with the workouts. I had to silence my inner critic who tells me I'm the fattest, slowest and can't do this. I could, and it felt epic. So we worked on a lot of blockers with Jess. We had to work on stress, because she runs her own business and her one employee left. From our family stress, we had to work around those menopause symptoms. We had to deal with the lack of time. We had to deal with the fact she had poor sleep and health complications and work on each of those things. And that's why it's so important that you do have this focus, because there's only so many things you can focus on. And what you need to focus on is probably different to what Jess needs to focus on. For example, you heard Jess said she needed to learn to cook from scratch, which is something she'd never done before. And we have clients who are great cooks and we don't need to worry about that. But there's other issues they've got. Or we have people like Jess who we need to learn how to put together quick and easy meals that are going to work for her. So we don't use any cookie cutter approaches, and I definitely wouldn't recommend following one because it's just not going to be right for you. Everyone is unique and different. So the first thing to do, just to summarize then, is to work out what those individual blockers are and to come up with a plan that's appropriate and tackles every single one of them. And if you're listening to this, I would write down what you think your main blockers are to success. Often it's at this time of life hormonal, so menopausal, and it requires a completely different approach in terms of exercise and nutrition. And then there may be other things like stress from work, family life, time, and get those all clear. And once you've done that, then you can move on to the next stage, which Ben's going to go through now. If you're fed up with trying everything and seeing no results,
watching your weight creeping up and struggling to fit into your clothes,
and you're looking for the fastest and easiest way to get your ideal weight
and never have to worry about your weight or health again,
you can save yourself years of trial and error by letting us take care of the hard work for you in our Fit Over 40 private coaching program.
Over the past decade, our world-class team have personally guided more than 7,000 women to take back control of their health and confidence, and more importantly, maintain those results for life.
If you're ready to finally get results that last and find out how we can help you do that too, click the link in the description below to get the full details now.
So once you've completed that first stage, that focus stage, you've removed everything that's not going to work and figured out, you'll have kind of a better idea of what is going to work for you. The next stage is the ignite phase. So what this phase will do is restart your body's fat burning systems, which will have been slowed by menopause, just by those hormonal changes. And the biggest key here is to keep the body's internal stress levels low. So for our private coaching clients, our clients' coaches will basically handle all of the details using tailored strategies to reset their metabolism and activate their fat burning switch, which basically what we're doing there is we're looking at what those weight loss blockers were that we've already uncovered. And we're thinking, what strategy do we need to put in place to kind of bypass those obstacles that usually will stop people in their tracks and stop them from seeing results, so that they can continue losing fat in the way that they may have previously been able to do in their 20s and 30s. It'll be like, it's like rewinding time, finding a strategy which is kind of appropriate for you in the stage of life that you are now, rather than using something which is designed for people in their younger years, which isn't going to work for women around menopause. So, as I said before, so the key strategy here is to keep the body's internal stress levels low. So the reason we want to do this is basically because every form of stress that comes into your body, whether that is from work, family life, etc., is going to raise levels of your stress hormone, cortisol, and can trigger what we call the weight gain triangle, which can basically block you from seeing results. So the key thing with your approach that you need to follow is, if you follow an approach which raises your stress levels too much, that's going to stop you seeing results. So everything we do in terms of strategy is going to be swapping from things which are highly stressful to swapping to things which are less stressful. So a typical switch there would be switching cardio exercise for LIST, or low impact strength training. So cardio workouts, especially high intensity cardio workouts, will create a large release of that stress hormone, and ultimately it's not going to be ideal if you're trying to lose weight and turn up around menopause. So instead, doing something like low impact strength training, which is basically lifting weights in a more slow and a controlled way, which, our coaches program the exact workouts that our clients follow, which are going to be appropriate for them, which can be done from home, which are going to work around any maybe injuries and things that they have. But by switching to this type of strategy, it's still really effective for burning body fat, but it avoids elevating that stress hormone, and therefore our clients can see really fast and really sustainable results. Other strategies might be things like increasing protein intake, which is going to help with seeing the best possible results in terms of fat loss. It's going to help with exercise recovery. It's going to help with maintaining muscle mass. It's also going to help with feeling full and satisfied. Other strategies might be increasing step count. So for somebody who is very desk-based, one of their biggest weight loss blockers might simply be a lack of activity. So we might help them to increase that step count and build in more steps and more activity into the day, which can actually burn a significant amount of calories and help improve fat loss, but again, without overstressing the body and increasing that cortisol level. But other strategies might be completely unrelated to things like exercise or nutrition. It might be more things like improving sleep, or we might help somebody to better cope with a stressful work situation that they may be struggling with. And our coaches will basically make this whole process straightforward and manageable, because there can be a lot to think about when you're thinking about, making sure you're doing the right type of thing with your workouts, with your nutrition, with your activity level, with your sleep, with stress. It really can be quite complicated. So our coaches basically help create the perfect strategy, meaning our clients can see steady fat loss with minimal effort. And with that kind of expert guidance, you can basically just focus on doing the tasks that will be laid out for you day by day. So, just completing that workout that's put right in front of you, rather than worrying about the long term or tweaking or changing the strategy, which often is required as well. And I've got a great case study here as well from another one of our clients who is called Paula. So Paula Parker, she was age 55 and is a TV production business owner. So I'll read through this one. So she said, before Trinity, I weighed 89 kilograms and was in size 16 clothes, bordering on size 18, the most I've ever weighed, even when pregnant. I felt uncomfortably big and was always tired and lethargic with aches and pains in my hips and lower back. I believe that at 55 years of age, at best, I could lose a few pounds, but getting anywhere near a size 14 would be impossible. Trinity has been a re-education in terms of my understanding of food and nutrition and exercise. In my 20s and 30s, I was fit and strong, going to the gym regularly. I was trying to approach dieting and fitness in the same way I used to, and it did not work. I tried so many different methods and programs to lose weight. I was not convinced I could do it. However, I lost 2 kilograms in 2 weeks and it was easy. I could not believe it. I am now 73 kilos, so in total I have lost 16 kilograms since joining. I feel fit and strong. I am now wearing size 12 to 14 clothes. My husband and I go on regular 5-mile walks, which I can do in 1.5 hours, no more lagging behind. I can spend whole days working in my garden, doing heavy digging and planting. In the past, I had to get someone to help. My weekly call with my Trinity coach is a focus for me every Monday or Tuesday to keep me accountable. Understanding how my postmenopausal body reacts differently to exercise and nutrition has been a game changer. When I started, I told my coach I thought if I were lucky, I could get down to a size 14. She said a size 10 to 12 was more like it. I really did not believe her. Now I know I will get to that size healthily. I have not been a size 12 since I was in my early 20s. And the best thing about Trinity is the empowerment you get from being physically stronger and fitter, both in body and mind. What I had not expected was the impact on everyday things like carrying home heavy bags of shopping is easy and enjoying heavy work in my garden is pleasurable. So amazing case study there by Paula. The thing I want to highlight here is the fact that she really was stuck. She was really in a position where she used to be very fit, healthy, very active. And then she had been trying all of those same methods again, now that she's in her 50s, and just wasn't seeing any results. And all it took for her to suddenly start losing, a kilo a week and just very steadily and very easily get to that end goal that she wanted to achieve and get down to that ideal dress size that she never thought she'd be able to get back to. It all just came down to having the right approach and, making the right decisions when it came to her exercise, what was going to be most appropriate for her in her 50s, in her nutrition, making sure that she was following an approach which was right for her body and her hormones now she's in her 50s, and just optimizing all of those areas. And by doing that, she was then able to, as she said, see easy results and finally get those results. So it really goes to show if you have the right approach, it doesn't need to be difficult. And just because you're in your 40s or 50s or 60s, it doesn't mean you're completely stuck. It just comes down to having the right methods, and not only just having kind of the right method to start with, but also having the help of somebody who, as you go through the process, they can monitor your progress, monitor how you're going, and make tweaks and changes throughout the process to keep you making the same rate of progress. So it's not kind of a set and forget thing. And I think that's one of the reasons why having help and support of a coach is so powerful, because not only can they give you a good starting point, which, you can get a good starting point from any kind of online plan or something. You can get a plan which will give you a rough framework to start with. But the question you've got to ask is, what happens if that plan stops working? Will you know how to tweak it, how to change it, what needs to be optimized in order to keep you making that consistent progress to achieve your goals? So just to summarize, the second stage is the ignite phase, which is once we've figured out what those weight loss blockers are, making sure that the approach is absolutely ideal. It's going to be appropriate for your body and your hormones, and that's going to help you to see fast and sustainable results.
And the last stage then is what we call transform. So this is to cement those changes. So I know this episode is really how to lose 15 to 30 pounds by spring, but there's no point losing 50, 30 pounds by spring if by the end of summer you've regained it all again or more. And we see that from clients time and time again. They do some sort of quick fix and they lose some weight, Most of that weight's actually muscle loss and bone loss, the last things you want to lose, but it looks good on the scales. But because it's so unsustainable, and because they've actually lost things that are not, the wrong things to lose, really, their metabolism is slower than ever, their body's in a terrible state, and they regain it all again. And they've not done it through a way that they enjoy, that's not restrictive. And so they end up going back to their old ways because the diet was so unpleasant. With Transform, this final stage, it's all about keeping the weight off. It's where you learn the skills, the habits, and cement everything so you can sustain your results for life. And most diets don't teach this at all. They just focus on the initial weight loss, and they don't really care where that weight comes from. If it's from what you want to lose, the unhealthy body fat, or whether it's from muscle, whether it's from bone, and all those things which actually will age you much more rapidly, make you look flabbier, saggier, slow down your metabolism, and make the weight regain much more likely to happen. So the way we do this is we use a variety of different tools. So throughout our time coaching clients, we do weekly habit coaching. So every single week, we are teaching our clients new habits, new mindsets to shift who they ultimately are, so that they become someone who's fit and healthy almost effortlessly. We also use a method called the dial method, where we can kind of turn things up and down depending on what's going on in their life. Because most of our clients are really busy, they get tired, they get run down, they travel for work, they're doing all sorts of different things, and they can't be all guns blazing anymore all of the time. They might have to go and care for their parents for a week, and then they need to know how to adjust things for that. They need to know how to dial it down and then dial it back up again when life is a little bit more straightforward again. Another couple of techniques we use is something called reverse dieting. So once you do hit your goal weight or size or whatever it is you're striving for, it's very important to build your metabolism back up, because even if you do everything as sustainably as possible, if you've lost 2 stone, 3 stone, your metabolism will naturally slow down a little bit. And if you just go back to eating normal, you'll regain a lot of the weight. So we use reverse dieting to build everything back up again. It's like a second ignite stage. It's like the afterburners. And what this really does is then make sure the weight stays off long term. And throughout all of this, the most important tool really is that ongoing support and accountability that you talked about, Ben, so that whatever comes up, it's going to be unique for you, the situation. You might have a specific situation, a specific injury, a specific menopausal side effect, which you don't know how to deal with. And then we can make sure we work through it, we come up with a solution, and you can keep going. And over time, you'll learn how to deal with every situation life throws at you. And this is why I think it's so important. Clients like Jess, who we mentioned earlier, don't wait to start until their life is perfect, because it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be this clear run where your children are all happy and healthy, your family are all perfectly healthy, your work has not got any issues, and you're going to have 3-6 months where nothing happens and you can just do it. That's not realistic. And even if it was a perfect run for 6 months, what about after that when things go wrong? Because life, the one thing you can guarantee, especially around menopause and as you get older, is more things start going on wrong in life for you, for your family members, for other people around you. And if you know how to tackle all of those things, then you will be able to sustain it long term. If you don't know how to work through those things, the minute something comes up, you'll go back, you'll default to your old patterns, and you'll regain all the weight. So we do this using our unique sustainability blueprint, which will teach you the tools and strategies needed to maintain your progress and confidence with ease. So you won't just achieve your goals, you'll learn how to thrive, feeling stronger, healthier, and more empowered every single day, and nothing can stop you from maintaining that long term. And a great example of this is one of our clients, Lou, who's 49, she's perimenopausal, and she's a forensic scientist running a very busy forensic lab. And there's 2 stages to this kind of testimonial that she sent us. First is about her initial journey, and then I stay in touch with a lot of our clients to see how they're getting on long term, to make sure they are sustaining everything. And the second part is when we speak 2 years on from when she lost the initial weight. So the first part, she said, I'd gone to Weight Watchers, I'd tried Slimming World, I tried this new 800 calorie a day diet thing, and that was a disaster. I did lose a bit of weight on all of them, but I put it all back on again. Before starting your program, I was 16 stone 13 and a BMI of over 40. Now I've lost 7.5 stone, I'm 9 stone and a size 8 in most clothes and a healthy BMI of 22. Now this is the second part. So this is then when I emailed her and said, how's it all going? And she said, 2 years on, I'm doing really well. From a maintenance point of view, this year's gone well and I'm still in a good range. I've reached a healthy balanced place where my weight fluctuates within 4 to 8 pounds around my goal weight with you. all of those habits from my program. It's now part of my life. Overall life is amazing. Thank you again for everything and hope all is well for you. And she sent me some pictures with this of her on her new horse. And when she joined us, she felt too heavy to ride her horse. She had an older horse and she felt sorry for the horse. So she was no longer horse riding, and it was one of her passions. And after she lost the weight, she decided she was going to treat herself, and she bought her dream horse, and she now rides every single day. And she sent us a picture of her on the horse, which you could find somewhere on our website. But it's really, really inspiring to hear from clients like Lou. And we've got lots of other clients who I don't have time to share today who have sustained their results for years and years afterwards. And it's all about those things I just talked about as part of this transform phase. So if you've been inspired by today and you want to find out more about the private coaching that Lou, Paul, Jess, and thousands of other women have used to lose 15 to 30 pounds and want to do dress sizes in 12 weeks. So you could do all of that by spring. Ben, where can people go to find more info?
To find out more, just head to www.fit40info.com and you can find all of the details on that page. And, if you're at the moment, you're struggling to see results in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, the final thing I want to just say is, it is difficult. It is a lot more difficult for women in this age range to see results. So, if you are struggling, don't feel bad. Don't feel like, it's somehow your fault or that you're not quite getting it right. And don't be worried about kind of asking for help, because it's not straightforward. It's fairly straightforward for someone in their, 20s to lose a few pounds. But at this age range, it is difficult, and having that additional help, we're obviously biased, but we've seen through thousands and thousands of case studies that having that additional help can make a massive difference. So if you want to find out more, just head over to www.fit40info.com.
Awesome. So that just about wraps up for today's podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch you next week for another episode, and we will see you then. If you're fed up with trying everything and seeing no results,
watching your weight creeping up and struggling to fit into your clothes,
and you're looking for the fastest and easiest way to get your ideal weight
and never have to worry about your weight or health again,
you can save yourself years of trial and error by letting us take care of the hard work for you in our Fit Over 40 private coaching program.
Over the past decade, our world-class team have personally guided more than 7,000 women to take back control of their health and confidence, and more importantly, maintain those results for life.
If you're ready to finally get results that last and find out how we can help you do that too, click the link in the description below to get the full details now.